What up, my freaks? RuinousInsight here with part 25 of my Total Warhammer 3 modded Arkhan the Black campaign. So as we saw last time, the Sorcerer's Islands were attacked by the Deserters of Kotep, and though it was an extremely close call, one of the closest battles in recent memory, we were able to throw them back. That said, it was certainly a showcase of the relative weakness of the defenses. There's not even enough troops in a garrison with a maxed out garrison building to actually block off the choke points, which is really quite unfortunate. And I also, on top of that, want to point out that the ports for the Tomb Kings, unlike many other factions, not all mind you, but many, don't have the bonus defenses that ports add. Unless it's... nope. I was about to say maybe it's ports that are in main settlements, and no, it isn't. So we don't even have that going for us. Nah. So really the best garrison you can get is, well, actually in Lashik we can't get anything because there's pottery there, but in Sorcerer's Islands we could add a statue to get a couple of Ushabti, a couple more I should say Ushabti, and that's it. Garrisons ain't getting much better. And still probably wouldn't be enough to block off the choke points, and the issue is, once again, even with all these constructs, there's not enough skeletons to activate Realm of the Dead. It's a very odd design, but anyway, not a big deal, just one of the things that makes factions different, and we will continue, hopefully, to overcome, despite the relative annoyance of having such weak garrisons. Anyway, in terms of what we gotta do this time, Arkhan's at the Lost Plateau and is gonna attack that. Raru is probably gonna hit Waldemar here at Antok, and we're probably gonna try to take out the Cult of Sigmar for good. We also have King Sanach waiting in ambush outside of where Thorek is, in the hopes of attacking him, though I think that perhaps we'll allow him to continue the siege for a little bit. If he takes Karagorud, that might actually work in our favor. We take it for ourselves, and eventually we move through Karagorud to these areas, and then we can just give the jungles of Talakwa to the last defenders, hopefully before they betray us, because they're starting to dislike us because of our treaties with other factions. Yeah. I suppose if... I wonder, I just had a thought, what would happen to our reliability if we were to make a military alliance with the last defenders at the same time as the Drakenhof Conclave, and the Drakenhof Conclave were to attack the last defenders and we were to pick Kraki over Manny? What would happen to our reliability? I'm not sure. I haven't run into the situation before, but I'm interested to find out, possibly, if we can make it happen. Anyway, in terms of the attacks, I think, let's see, this looks like a fairly decent battle. There's a lot of enemies for King Araru to destroy. What about at Lost Plateau? What are we looking at here? Well, there's some gyrocopters, which we haven't faced off against. Medium casualties, eh? Seems like that indicates that we should probably fight this. There's some longbeards and stuff. I guess we can fight this. Whether it's worth it to fight it cinematically, I'm not sure, but you know what, it's a dwarf battle line, so they're a lot more hardy than our units. I mean, once again, just comparing the garrisons here, a single longbeard is probably worth, what, probably at least 2 units of skeleton warriors or Nehekara warriors, maybe 3. It's a longbeard, so yeah, the garrisons are incomparable, but you know, to be fair, dwarfs should have good garrisons. They have other problems that they have to deal with. Anyway, let's get to this. Let's destroy the place, and then there will only be one settlement to Thorek's faction remaining.
Obey.
All right, Arkhan, I obey. Your hat. Anyway, here we go. The enemy is not all that strong, to be fair. The only interesting thing is, why I think this might be worthy of a cinematic battle, is the fact that we actually have no air defenses in this army whatsoever. So the gyrocopters, both the brimstone gun and regular variety, have free reign to do whatever the heck it is they please. Now, the question is, will they be able to take enough of an advantage of that to do significant damage to us? I suppose it remains to be seen, but as we can see, they've dropped Arkhan's HP by about a quarter already, which which is not insignificant, and they will continue to fire, still with plenty of ammunition remaining. Maybe they can snipe our lord before we do sufficient damage. Anyway, the rest of our army is slowly moving and unfold, or planning at least to unfold the enemy army. The ghouls and the hex wraiths are moving in, but Arkhan is going to start. One of the unfortunate things for the dwarfs when fighting Arkhan in particular is he's so quick on the chariot, and they have no way to catch him, and he can move around their army doing this. He's moved towards their grudge throwers and summoned zombies on top of them. He summoned another unit of zombies to block the 2 units of melee and their Thane, another one to block their lore, or that's an engineer, and their engineer and quarreler unit, and is now going to charge another unit of quarrelers to do the same thing. So basically half of their army is tied up just by him riding around in the background, and that's before the rest of our forces get here. There we go, gonna charge right through those quarrelers and summon another unit of zombies, and just keep going. And charge right into all these dwarf warriors and longbeards as well. And very nice. Ooh, all the zombies are gone, so Arkhan's gonna get trapped for a few seconds at least, but the rest of our forces are moving in. Our hex wraiths have also arrived in the background. The zombies kept the grudge throwers from attacking our forces while they moved in, while the hex wraiths then quickly ripped the grudge throwers apart. Obviously, the fate of the zombies and stuff not only doesn't matter, but will also buff up our realm of souls, allowing us to get our healing up and running, and just as our army gets there, and soon, hopefully, the Ushabti as well. It's a little bit wasteful of the Realm of Souls, I admit, and in certain battles it worked to our disadvantage, but I think in this one the enemy has a sufficiently small force that we don't care about the healing nearly as much. Anyway, our main line has engaged. Our White King is leading our piles of Tomb Guard and our single unit of Skeleton Warriors, and I guess Nehekara Warriors if you count the Assyrians Legion of the Netherworld here, who as always will rip the enemy apart, and the enemy can do nothing about it because they're an ethereal unit. Really got to get those extra ethereal units in Arkhan's army. We're building desecrated sepulchres in multiple places. We just need an army to actually be able to recruit them, and they're all just constantly busy. Anyway, another unit of zombies comes up, and I do believe the battle should be ours soon, 90% in our favor. Granted, the brimstone guns and the regular gyros continue to fire, and just out of curiosity, 8k damage on the regular gyros and 10k on the brimstone guns with 42 kills. Fairly decent, though. Perhaps that was from the bombs. I didn't see whether it had successfully dropped a lot of bombs, because it might have just bombed some zombies. That said, they have been annoying Arkhan for the entire battle, and he remains at around half HP, pretty much solely because of that unit of brimstone guns. So good job to the enemy. If we were facing off against many more of those, that would have been very much a threat to Arkhan, and interestingly enough, countered what we did here. Anyway, the enemy has summoned their Ushabti, but similarly to the Longbeards and Dwarf Warriors, they're probably not that threatening either to the Assyrians Legion or to the Hex Wraiths, and besides, the rest of the army is just about to go. They begin to rout and are obviously going to continue getting chased down by our Dire Wolves and our Crypt Ghouls, all of which will be replaced in this army by ethereal units primarily. I want that single line of Wights of Stonewrath Tarn from Arkhan's, from the Black Tower of Arkhan, his own special unit, in combination with a bunch of ghostly units and probably some Necro-Sphinxes as his final army, and 2 to 3 at least Caskets of Souls, because I think they belong in his army as well, especially since he's stuck with the Syrian's Legion of the Underworld buff. Anyway, I believe with the Ushabti pretty much gone. Wait, we summoned Ushabti, not they summoned Ushabti. What am I saying? If anybody was confused, well, not as confused as I am. Yeah. Alright, well, this is what comes of running several campaigns at the same time. You fight the Tomb Kings with the lizards and get used to them summoning Ushabti on top of you, and then when you see Ushabti, you think, oh, this is enemy Ushabti and not your own Ushabti. It's gonna get even more confusing when we fight even more Tomb Kings ourselves, when we move towards fighting Khalida, which is probably inevitable. I doubt that she's gonna be friends with us, in which case we will be summoning Ushabti, and they'll be summoning Ushabti, and it'll be Ushabti heaven for those who like Ushabti. Anyway, decisive victory, easy enough. Alrighty, looks like reasonably minimal losses at 86, and we certainly avoided the damage we didn't want to take by virtue of not fighting or not auto-resolving it, so just about right. We're gonna occupy the place, giving us a Ruby Ring of Ruin, which is kind of meh, but that's fine. And we will go for a not income screwing up with stance, or screwing with stance rather. And it looks like we're actually in range of Zorn rather. Why must there be a Zorn and an Azorn? So we should be able to take this out next turn, and that may be the end of Thorax faction, depending on if he takes Karagorud next turn himself, or does not. We're gonna keep the funerary districts here for now, but we'll delete them in a little bit. For now, we're also... well, I guess we can collect the income while Arkhan is here, though obviously later on that's gonna change. And let's put a mortuary house here just for the little bit of extra growth as well. It's gonna be tough dealing with this entire territory, though. And we'll probably have to replace all of these things with public order buildings, because just like this territory, it's looking problematic. But also like this territory, it has 2 trade goods that we'll want to make use of. So, yeah, it'll be worth it at the end. Now, King Jokt, you are going to retake Agrul Migdal from when the Beastmen took it. A little bit annoying to have to spend the colonization costs, but it is what it is. Alright, and colonize. If nothing else, it will act, or it will continue to act, or once again act, as a sort of buffer from stuff that moves south. I'd really rather these territories get attacked than our main territories, which, while defensible enough, are still fairly sparsely defended because of our garrisons. Anyway, and that's Jokt's job. Sanacht, you are going to continue your ambush. Araru, you're about to attack. Let's do a little bit of admin before we do so. Hetakor, you're good where you are, continuing to act as a scout. Ibiamos, you're kind of in the same situation, and I want you to keep an eye out on these things, though perhaps, if we send you out, Ibiamos, maybe go to Tobaro and see if there's Skaven there, but, well, we know there's Skaven there, but you get some XP for it. Scout Ruins, there you go. I don't know if you actually leveled, well, actually you didn't level up, but oh well. Then, let's see. I want to get another scout mage up and running. I know that we're using a lot of mages as scouts, but I feel like it's necessary. You're wise, so we're gonna get you, and then we're gonna give you Canopic Jar Holder, and I guess Specialist, and probably Wound as well. Ooh, wait, actually. No, yeah, we only need to hold on to 1 point to get both of these, so yeah, that's fine. I like so, and then you can move out and go this way. We'll need to keep an eye out on these guys now so that we're forewarned of anybody else coming here, and I'm sure that Bordelot is going to try the exact same thing, where they sail over. So yeah, we're going to need to deal with it. Alrighty, that is everybody's, except the attack on Antuk here. Let's do the building, if there is building to be building. Let's see. I'm kind of actually tempted to get rid of this thing at Numas in favor of either growth or another Fated Pyramidion, possibly. Could also come in quite handy. Do we need to move in this place? This is Khemri. We do move around here quite a bit. You know what? Maybe we'll keep it, but here, for example, at the Black Tower of Arkhan, it's not going to be nearly as needed. So let's delete this here as well. Land of the Dead, I guess we're going to keep as we are then. Nothing to do. We're going to wait until... oh, you think everything is maxed out? No, wait, not everything. Numas needs an upgrade, and then they'll need a pyramid after that, so yeah, okay, fine. And we'll keep you going. You are switching, so you're fine. And lastly, Southern Badlands, we probably don't need to bother with upgrading this thing. It just doesn't really give us much of anything in terms of being worthwhile to upgrade. And these places are not collecting income, but those are the ones that are supposed to not be collecting income. Although Great Desert of Araby, Worship of Tra... just keep Worship of Tra, that's fine. Alrighty, now, lastly, Diplomacy, and then we attack yet again. Anything interesting here? Bleak Holds and Scourge of Cain don't care about you. In fact, we'll probably declare war on the Bleak Holds again reasonably shortly. Celestial Loyalists is starting to like us more and is near to a non-aggression pact, which would be nice. So is Talzin, which would be even more nice. Who's Talzin at war with? Nobody, damn. If they were... Is there anybody they would love to declare war on that we are also at war with at the same time? What about Kairos? Minus 15, yeah, okay, that's not gonna happen, is it? Ironbrow, nope. Hatred of the Dwarfs is not working for us. Anybody who's near them that they hate, but we're at war with? No, it doesn't look like it, at least not really. Maybe Telia? Nah. Alright, well, screw that then. We will ignore it. At least for now. They may continue liking us more and more, especially if we attack Ikit a little bit more ourselves. Yeah, it would be nice not to have to deal with them. Cathians, we want trade agreements with, but we can't get them right now. Military access. We want it more with Miao Ying than random other little Cathian factions. We could declare war on Grimgor's Ardboys, which would allow us to do this. It's not like, well... We'll eventually have to be in a war with Grimgor's Ardboys. It's pretty much inevitable. Maybe this is worth our time. And plus a bunch of other factions will probably like us doing this. Yeah, fine. Be more alliance-y with Miao Ying, I guess. Makes sense to me. Would be amazing to be able to vassalize the Cathians as well. Alrighty, and I believe that's all that we'll want to do right now. Don't want to peace out with anybody here, and that's for sure, so we'll skip the rest of that. And we're gonna attack again. Alrighty, so King Araru, it's your turn now, so you're gonna switch to Corrupted Dynasties. We're gonna have you get to Waldemar here. And close victory according to this, alright. But we have artillery superiority, so I think we're in reasonably good shape. And on top of that, these guys will have to travel towards us out of the wherever the reinforcements appear. So here we go. Alrighty, here we go. Just wanted to take a look at the Casket of Souls a little bit. It is such a fantastic model, you gotta admit, and I feel like I haven't looked at it enough. There's only one major issue with it, and it's that this guy's hat is quite inferior. It's more like a headband than a hat. And that is a pretty big issue, I gotta say. Alrighty, but the model otherwise is cool. Would be nice if there were some hats in the pile under the casket, but anyway, here we go. This is a fair amount of importance, I'm sure. We're gonna start the battle off against the enemy army that was in march stance outside of the settlement, and we're just going to bombard it to the best of our abilities. Obviously, the enemy army isn't all that threatening, this one, and we could charge it, but the thing is, the AI just likes to move forward anyway once its reinforcements arrive, so we can just sit where we are, wait for them to move forward ourselves, or themselves rather, and bombard them to our heart's content. This also allows us to move our other units into position, the Flock of Joff out here to possibly drop some bombs on the enemy army as it moves onto the field, and the Crypt Ghouls behind the enemy army to hit all those poor ranged units. We also have a mortar to consider on the enemy side, which will be another job for either the Flock of Joff or for one of the Ghouls, depending on who's closer, though it'll probably be the Flock as they don't have to run on the ground. Alrighty, we'll be curious to see what the damage will be on the Screaming Skulls and the Casket of Souls by the end of this battle as well.
Kill everything!
Everything's already dead. Thanks, though. You're not needed here. Alrighty, well, here comes the enemy reinforcements, which will mean the rest of their army will start moving towards us, and we're gonna drop some bombs on the enemy, just a little bit. Granted, we could probably have waited and dropped the bombs instead on other enemy units that were that were more blobbed up, but why not? While we're here. Maybe this will annoy the enemy enough to try to move towards us rather than try to move into a formation instead. Alrighty, here comes the enemy. We will probably be countercharging them with our piles of Ushabti shortly. But of course they are going to take some time to get to us because they're relatively slow-moving standard infantry. Yeah, you gotta love these open field battles. We need more artillery in various armies, don't we? Well, ideally some more of our own artillery. I do want more Screaming Skulls, but it's gonna be difficult to acquire them. I think we just need to acquire them via building some Nehekaran citadels, or whatever the building that... I don't think it's the Citadel, actually. Well, I don't remember the name, but there is a building that increases capacity of pretty much all units, depending on the level of said building. I think, yeah, it's one of the buildings that's tied to the Fated Pyramidion. So we don't have any yet, but we will, and we will, especially as we continue to grow and get some tier 3 and 4 settlements. Anyway, the Ushabti are moving forward. Over in the background we can see a Skull Storm having been activated in the pile of enemy units. It's unfortunately going to move away and looks like chase the enemy lord, who is going to try to run the heck away from it. It's actually a fairly nice shot, but it does look like it did some damage to the... Did I just double speed it? Oh no, that was just normal speed, okay. It just felt really quick. Alrighty, well, the Skullstorm will have done a decent amount of damage to the enemy. There's plenty of dead down there, and in fact, just out of curiosity, let's see, where's our mage? He ran forward to do that. Is he supporting the ghouls? Yes, no, he's supporting some skeleton warriors, which were summoned. Alrighty, he got 255 kills and 25k damage from a single cast. That's pretty darn decent, and considering the enemy unit was blobbed up, sounds about right. The first march stance enemy army has been pretty much destroyed, though that's hardly surprising with their vigor gone, and the enemy lord will be knocked down by our White King and Tomb King shortly, at which point we will turn towards the main army, which is continually suffering bombardment from our artillery pieces. Also in the background we have our Flock of Jeff, which have tied up the enemy mortars and will take them off the field, preventing them from really achieving anything. Alrighty, forward to Ushabti. Let's see, the enemy lord will either drop or will just not even bother chasing him because he's in march stance, and since he's shattered, that actually means he is dead. Alrighty, and then same with all of these units. We only need to chase enough of the first army to make sure that they're shattered and not going to come back in this battle. The only big things we actually need to fully destroy are the units of the second army, because obviously they're drawn from the garrison and we'll have to fight them again. Ushabti and Skeleton Spears marching forward towards the second army now. The bombardment does continue and has probably been doing a very solid amount of damage this entire time. Actually, out of curiosity, we're at about halfway through our ammo on both units. 120 kills and 14k damage, 210 kills and 35k damage, eh? Interesting. So it looks like the Casket of Souls is roughly twice as effective as the Screaming Skull Catapults, at least in terms of kills and in terms of the damage. In fact, their damage as gold is also about identically double, which sounds about right, considering how rare the Casket of Souls are. Or, I still do think that Casket of Souls should be summonable every 10 turns and not 15. 15's a little much. But maybe that's something Katep has. Nobody ever plays Katep, so I don't know what's happening with him. I should really take a look at Katep and SFO at some point just to find out. I do love the ability for Lich Priests to be mounted on Caskets of Souls. But anyway, let's see what we've got here. The enemy army has all of our Ushabti among their lines, and we also have our ghouls running around in the background who are going to be hitting all the enemy range units. These ones tying up some handgunners, the Flock of Joffs tying up some crossbows, and I don't think the enemy has a prayer. They're pretty much done already. Yeah, they still have a few units on the field, and they will continue to fight to the death. But without range support, this army is just not going to achieve anything. Even all these halberds and the possible damage that they do towards our Ushabti. There's a Necrotech fighting in the middle of all this as well. Good job, buddy. We'll whip them away. Show them the true power of Hat. And there we go. Looks like these guys will break around them. We'll break around our Necrotech. What do we got here? At about 90% balance of power, and in fact, the battle is pretty much over. There's still an Empire Captain in the middle of the enemy troops, but I think he's routing together with his troops, or will be shortly. You gotta love the lighting on these maps, though. Everything is so nice and visible and clear, and it looks like with that, the rest of the army will shatter. Probably not a crazy amount of work for our skeleton archers, but to be fair, they also don't necessarily need to be in this army. They're just going to be replaced by Ushabti with Great Bow anyway, but, well, we gotta have some range while we don't have the Ushabti as yet. Otherwise, we have to chase these guys, unlike the March Stance army, so that we don't have to deal with them again. Alright, chase them down, ghouls. Fortunately, you are very, very effective at it. At the very least, at chasing infantry down. I'm sure the Flock of Joff are okay. Actually, I'm out of curiosity. 93 damage and 17k damage on, or 93 kills and 17k damage on the Flock of Joff. Very respectable. I really appreciate that. Well done. We should still put that in that army that will buff Carrion in general, though I'm not 100% sure that it will actually carry to a Regiment of Renown, as in whether it'll actually continue to be buffed, but who knows. It could lead some, the unit could lead some Fellbats, which was the original plan for them, which I think might work, as we have relatively limited access to various types of flyers. Anyway, there we go, decisive victory for us, and probably not too much in the way of damage. Well done, everybody. Alright, not bad, even more minimal losses, though the enemy did have a few units to survive. Hopefully that won't interfere with our auto-resolving. We're gonna take the Canopic Jars this time around, I think, regardless of the fact that we're auto-resolving next turn, mostly because we need the jars right now, quite a lot. And then, yes, we are in range of Antok, so we're gonna head there directly. Auto-resolve you. We lost like twice, or was it 30 units lost? So nearly 3 times as much units to this as the actual battle. Occupy the place, and very nice. Alrighty, well, let's take you back to your regular stance. You are not able to reach the Plain of Tuskers in 1 turn, sadly, but it looks like 2 turns from now, the Cult of Sigmar will be gone. I was thinking we'd just end the turn right now and take these guys out, but since it's going to take 2 turns anyway, I think this is a good place to call it. So I'm going to call the episode here. Next time, other than destroying the Cult of Sigmar, we will move southward and start attacking Telakwa. I'm hoping that Arkhan the Black can help us with that after he takes Karak Zorn, and then perhaps starts moving down to these places as well. A few trades to Karaki should keep him reasonably happy. We also have to figure out what exactly is going to happen with Thorek here, and that's going to be a big question, because if he survives, well, I mean, he should probably win at fighting Karagorud, unless there's another army nearby belonging to Karaki, but he's probably pretty far away, so I feel like it's a little bit less likely. We also have Queek's forces coming down. There's a lot of stuff happening here. I see forces belonging to the Court of Libaras, a bunch of factions that are either outright hostile or potentially hostile. So that place is going to continue being interesting, and our borders will continue to be in something of a shambles, I'm sure, for a while as yet. But our money continues to grow, and thus our buildings continue to come up, and soon, and we will be able to get more and more different types of units available, and our armies will become stronger, and will begin to snowball. That's the way the Tomb Kings do. Anyway, more Tomb Kings to come. Don't forget to leave a like and comment. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.